Welcome back, everyone. I'm Angela, and we are going to move on with the next lesson in our Making and Research and Writing unit. Before we dive into today's lesson, I want to present my screen to you. And I want to talk with you a little bit about this reality because some of you, I'm sure, are feeling this way right now. The fact is that our previous lessons had you thinking all sorts of interesting things about what you might make over the next couple of weeks with me. And I was even thinking I might begin by making the best meal that I ever ate. But I've changed my mind, and changing your mind is okay too. We're still in the very beginning of this process. And as it unfolds, you might decide that if you're really going to put your time into making something, you really want to enjoy it. And ideas come to us at all of the most unpredictable and interesting times. So, my story is this. I recently received these books and I forgot all about them until I was cleaning off a bookshelf last night. And then I remembered that I really wanted to spend some time learning how to hand letter this spring, and this would be a really good time to do that. So I need you to know that if you are not yet settled on the topic that you are going to be investigating and researching and learning about in order to make something, that's okay. You can still change your mind a little bit. In fact, the process of gathering sources can actually inspire our ideas. That's kind of what happened to me. I found these two sources, two books on a shelf, and when I saw them, I really wanted to sink into this sort of work. So I'm going to encourage you to maybe practice a little bit of patience and grace with yourself and allow yourself to change your mind right now, because changing your mind is okay. By the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to say that you've gathered different potential sources for your research. You're going to be, again, researching or investigating around the question. For my example, my case, it's how might I hand letter? Your how might I is going to end in a different way, and that's okay. But you're going to be gathering some sources for your research that will help you make the thing that you want to make. By the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to say you've gathered some different sources, but those sources are only going to have what's called potential. What does that mean, the word potential? Well, you might be able to relate to this. This morning, my 20-year-old stumbled out of bed around lunchtime, and I asked her if she would please do the dishes for me. And she said there was some potential for that, meaning she wasn't going to say yes, she wasn't going to say no, she was just going to agree that it might happen. That's how you'll probably feel about the sources that you gather for your own project today. And I'm going to walk you through my own process so that you can see what I mean by that and hopefully make some really good choices. But again, by the end of today, hopefully you'll have gathered some potential sources, but you're probably going to make different choices and decisions around them as we move through the project, and that's okay. When I say the word source, what do I mean by that? And what kinds of sources might you use? Sources include books, newspapers, magazines, TV and film, interviews, one-on-one lessons, like you could ask your mom or your dad or your sister or your brother or anyone in your home to teach you something that they know how to do. They're a good source because they have expertise in it. Sources are also websites or blogs or videos or podcasts or presentations or live performances. Sources are the materials and the experts that you call on to learn how to make the thing you want to make. I have some tips for you here. These are the things that I think about when I'm considering what makes a source a really good one. First of all, try to use sources that you already own or sources that are free. You don't have to spend money on this. Make sure that the source that you're using is also safe. So if you're going online, try to rely on some of the sources that I shared with you in my links yesterday. because I've hooked you up with some sources that are definitely safe. If you're going to go hunting on your own, you might want to use the web source Kiddle. It's a search engine, Kiddle. I will leave it in the links at the bottom of today's page. Kiddle is powered by Google, but it's a safe search engine that you might prefer to use. Of course, a lot of you have probably been using Google for a very long time, and I trust that you know when you're getting into something that might be dangerous. For instance, if there are a lot of pop-ups or advertisements on a page, it's usually not only unsafe to use, but it makes it really difficult to access. Usually, if there are a ton of pop-ups, it's difficult to navigate the page or read the text really well. So know that a really good source, the best sources, are easy to use and they're easy to understand. They're safe because the content isn't going to be exposing you to things that are not appropriate for kids your age, and they're also free. Now, what happens if you encounter a source that seems unsafe? The first thing that you need to do is close out of it, right? Using the little X in the upper right of your computer screen. You also need to alert someone in your home that you bumped into that source, or even let your teacher know this as well. I'll be honest though, encountering sources on the internet that are inappropriate, that happens to me very rarely because I take care to use sites that are recommended to me by others and to use search engines that are really reputable. If you're using Google, I have one more tip for you. Make sure that after you conduct your search, you pay attention to things that are labeled ads. You don't want to click on a website that's taking you somewhere where they're going to try to sell you something. Instead, make sure you scroll down and you're clicking on web links that actually take you to genuine and authentic sources. The best sources that you gather into your collection should help you answer your driving question. Again, mine is, how might I create beautiful hand lettering? What are you planning to make? That's how you're going to answer or end that particular question. They should help you answer other questions too. Good sources will tell you not only what the thing is, but why it matters, who does it, when they do it, and where they do it. It's important that sources help you answer these questions because eventually you're going to be writing or creating or composing something that will help others do the same thing that you've learned how to do and make the same things that you've learned how to make. This is my collection of potential sources right now. I have these hand lettering books. I also have a friend, and you'll see her picture in the middle of the screen, Denise. Denise is an art teacher, and I'm going to interview her a little bit about hand lettering because I think she has some good ideas and resources, and she might even have some additional tools for me that I might be interested in using. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see that I found a YouTube video that I'm interested in looking at. And in the bottom right, I've also found a website that I'm really excited to use. This is my collection of potential sources. They're potential sources because as I sink into using them, they may not help me answer all of those questions. I might need to add other sources to this list over time in order to get answers to all of the questions that I have. I might also find that one of these sources is less helpful than I thought it was going to be in the beginning, so I might not include it in my final list of sources that I end up citing. Today, we learned how it's all right to change our mind about our topic right now, to change our mind about what it is we might want to make, and to also begin, but not necessarily be committed or married to the sources that we want to use. You'll know that you're ready to move on from this lesson when you have a collection of different potential sources to share. Your teacher might have guidance around how you should share them with him or her or other people in your class. Know that for my purposes, you might take some videos. You might have them right on hand and be able to point to them. You might take pictures or even doodle, or maybe just create a quick written list of what all of your sources are. Be ready to share them if you're called upon to do so. If you're interested in seeing all of these slides, I've left them in the links below. Some of your teachers might have direct links to the slides as well. Remember, if you have a question about today's lesson or how to navigate the website, to ask your teacher first. If they can't help you, they'll reach out to me, and that'll stop all of us from talking to each other at the same time, which would be very confusing. I hope that you're able to find some wonderful things to learn from. I can't wait to hear about what you're making. Have a really good rest of your day, everyone.